What? What? On what planet? Hello, YouTube world. It's been a minute. November was not it for me. I read a total of 3 books this month, and only one of the books was a part of my reading plans. So, this was a very crazy month for me. I had plans of I set out very realistic, unambitious TBR of 6 books or 7 books. I can't remember, but it was a very small amount of books. And I was I was coming in swinging for the month. But my month was just all over the place. I got a new schedule with work, and I'm switching positions at work. So that took a lot of my time this month, just rescheduling and moving things around and how I get ready. Actually, the way my schedule fell for the holiday, I actually had 10 days off, and I was so excited. I thought I was going to get so much done. I had so many plans for YouTube and for reading, and it just didn't work out that way. I fell into a very depressive episode and just did not accomplish anything. So, unfortunately, November was just not a great month for me and my mental health. I only read 3 books, and I DNF'd 1, and I absolutely hated another one. So it was a big month of but that being said, I appreciate that you guys are still here. I haven't lost any followers. I actually gained some, so that was very nice. And thank you for being patient. And I am going to try and have a regular schedule of every 2 or 3 days, maybe every 3 days posting. This just was not a good mental health month for me. And sometimes your little brain's got to go wee woo and then readjust. So we're back. I actually did vlog reading all of these, but I never finished it because depression. So there's no logical ending to the vlog that I made for it, and it's just kind of pieced together. So I decided to just scrap it. If you guys want me to make a video with all of that, I will, but I just don't think it will be very entertaining. So I just decided it's better just wrap the books up here, especially because it was such a small amount of books. The first book that I read and really loved, I actually did a full vlog for that I'll link down below if you want to see it, is Even Though I Knew the End by C.L. Polk. I'm not going to get too deep into this because, like I said, I did a full vlog for it, but I gave this one 5 stars. It's a very short novella. I absolutely loved it. It is a sapphic, dark fantasy, noir crime thriller. I really loved it, and if that sounds like something you would enjoy, I highly recommend watching my vlog on this one. I give a more detailed and layer explanation to why I gave this 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. Excellent, out of my comfort zone read. The next book I read was one that I was very excited about. I actually picked it strictly off cover art because I saw it in the bookstore, and then I read the synopsis and I was like, oh, this sounds right up my alley. It's another small novella, but it's called The Monster of Eldenhaven by Jennifer Geisbrecht. And this is about a nameless, immortal type monster that is murdering people in this town, but he is possibly being governed by someone else. It just had a very murder mystery horror feel, and it started off okay. I did kind of like it in the beginning. I will say, however, there's the brutalization of a child on the first page, which kind of really I didn't enjoy. I don't love that, and that kind of threw me off, but I guess it set the tone. And then the murders that were being, I was very interested in the monster character and his backstory. I was interested and intrigued by the crimes he was committing and learning more about him. But very quickly and very out of nowhere, it becomes a strange romance with him and this older gentleman. And it's so strange and off-putting. And I don't know. I couldn't get into it. once it started taking that route, because it felt like less horror and more romance, but I didn't like the romance. Also, it has very historical language, which I do not like. It's just not for me. The period language, it makes it so hard for me to get into and love it. I couldn't do it. So I DNF'd it at like page 50, I think. Actually, I DNF'd it at page 56. Between the very historical language, the romance that seemed to come out of nowhere,
and then I was really just bored and did not care.
Probably between pages 30 and 50. So it just wasn't for me. That being said, I read a lot of reviews. A lot of people seem to like it. So maybe pick it up if it sounds like something you're interested in. But for me, not so much. The next book I'm going to need y'all to strap in for, because I'm going to rant. So if you don't like rants, or you don't like people complaining as much as I'm about to complain about this book, then you can switch off now. I appreciate you watching, but I am going to dive into a tirade of why I hate this other book that I read for probably a good 15 minutes. So here's your chance. Okay, you stayed? Great. I'm gonna spoil this book because I need to talk about spoilers to talk about why I hate it. So if this sounds like a book that you may want to read, then skip out from this video. I'm going to tell you what the synopsis is about, and then I'll get into why I hate it, and spoilers will follow. It sounded so intriguing. It sounded right up my alley. It is about a woman who is a regular at horror conventions. So she's at a horror convention, and she meets this man who says he has a videotape, a horror video that no one else has ever seen before. And she is like intrigued, and when she sees the video, she realizes it shouldn't exist. It's from like another reality, and this videotape makes you act strangely and then has like very dire consequences. Okay, so that's the synopsis in a little nutshell. To me, that sounds like The Ring. I was like, okay, videotape that shouldn't exist, horrifying. My point of reference is the movie The Ring, so I was excited. Again, my fault for going in with that expectation, because that is not what this was. So if what I just said sounds interesting to you and you want to read it, the rest of the video is going to be a spoiler. So heads up. Don't worry, I took some notes of how much I hated this this book. I hated it. I hated it so much. I would give it a 1-star, but I reserve 1-star books for Dead Inside by Chandler Morrison. That's my 1-star book reference point. And it wasn't that bad, but it was pretty close to that bad. And if you've read Dead Inside, you'll know what I'm talking about, whether you like it or not. Anyway, first let me talk about what the videotape was. The videotape is not a horror videotape, like horrific things happening. It's essentially a sequel to Friday the 13th that never existed in our world. So if you're a Friday the 13th, if you're a Friday the 13th fan, which I am not, I've never seen any of the Friday the 13th movies, you may like this premise. It may intrigue you, okay? But for me, I wasn't really excited when I found that out. Also, it was just weird. Like, of all the tapes that could exist in an alternate reality and have to do with something horrific, we're doing Friday the 13th sequels. And it wasn't even, it was just like, the guy wants to show the main character this movie, and you think she's going to watch like some snuff film kind of thing, which is very much what the build-up feels like. It feels like this guy is like, I have this videotape to show you. You can't tell anybody. Like, I was like, oh, what the fuck is this videotape? And then it's a sequel to Friday the 13th that never existed in our reality. And I was like, what is that? I was like, okay, well, this is fucking stupid. So literally about 14, 15 pages into the book, I was like, ugh, I don't know about this. Okay. But I was like, well, it's supposed to change how they act and, make them very sketchy people and dangerous people. So I was like, all right, well, let's see how that plays into it. So the videotape, ultimately, it makes whoever watching it want to like be in possession of it, and you will hurt or kill anybody to get it back. So again, it's just strange to have that feeling for a videotape about Friday the 13th. It's not like this movie is like holding secrets to the universe to make you more rich and powerful. It's just a sequel that never happened. I don't know. I couldn't get behind it. I was like, I don't understand why this videotape is having this impact on these people. Okay? Secondly, the main character, Allison, is so fucking unlikable. I don't know if I've ever disliked the character. Well, that's not true, because like I said, Chandler Morrison, don't like the two characters from Dead Inside. Hate them. I don't like her. I don't like this main character. Her name is Allison, and she's an example of when male authors write a cool, edgy chick, and she's just so cool. She's like way too fucking cool, okay? She's like cooler than you. It just rubbed me the wrong way, and I hate when male authors do it a lot. I mean, I know all authors do it, but male authors do it a lot, where they're like, you know, she's got a leather jacket, she's gonna call you a fucking bitch, like, she's not afraid to punch you in the face, like, that attitude. Ugh, I hated it. And from the like first 2 pages, it's like that, where this guy is meeting her. This guy is like kind of staring at her while she's outside smoking a cigarette, and she's like, what the fuck are you staring at? Why don't you just say what you want to say? Like, that kind of like attitude. And it just never stops being that attitude. And it's like, I mean, I know why guys look at me. I know I'm fucking hot. I'm like con hot. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't get to see girls that look like me. Like, what the fuck do you want from me? And the dude was like, I was just saying that I like your shirt. And she's like, next time just fucking say it. So it was just like that very abrasive, aggressive attitude that female characters that are written that way are like meant to be super fucking like, you're gonna know she's a badass, okay? So I did not like her, okay? And for all the like shit that she gives this dude in the beginning of this book, where she's like, you know, stop fucking staring at me, what the fuck are you looking at? Like, I would never talk to a dude like you, whatever. He convinces this badass woman who would never talk to him and wouldn't even want to be bothered by him to go up to his room to watch this videotape, which I was like, on what planet? I digress. Anyway, she gets up to the room to watch the tape with him. Within 5 fucking minutes, she's fucking the dude. What? No joke, like 5 fucking minutes. And I was so confused. It's very jarring, because y'all are just downstairs and you're telling this dude to fuck off and not to look at you, and like, I don't know, she's being very sarcastic with him. Then you're going with him to his room. Not only are you going with him to his room, but within 5 minutes of walking through the door, you're fucking him. I don't know. That whole leap was just very jarring for me. I'm like, you're writing this woman as a badass who doesn't take shit from anybody, but then she's an idiot who's going to a room with a stranger and then fucks him?
Stupidest thing I done heard.
What are you, an idiot?
So she fucks the dude, whatever. Then he shows her the videotape, and the whole interaction that they have while they're watching the videotape makes me dislike her even more. I'm telling you, I did not like her from the first fucking page. She's being just like sarcastic and shitty to him, like she didn't just fuck him. And the dude's being like very nice and like polite, and he's like, I'm just like trying to show you something cool because I think that you would like this because you're at a horror convention and you said that you like Friday the 13th. Like, it's all very abrasive and weird. Her whole interaction is weird with this person. Anyway, he shows her the videotape and she finally realizes what it is. And she's like, holy shit, like, is this just like a really good, like, fake? And he's like, no, this like actually happened, just not in our world, right? And she's like, what the fuck? So she's freaking out. And she's like, how do you have this? And he's like, I can't tell you. And she's like, you better fucking tell me. So they have kind of a argument back and forth, and she decides that in order to distract him, she's gonna jerk him off. So she jerks him off until, And he gets up to go clean himself off. And while he's doing that, she snatches the videotape out of the VCR and runs out of the room. Okay? It's like this feeling comes over her where she has to know why it exists. She needs it. She takes it and runs. Okay? So the guy comes out. He's pissed. He's like freaking out. Which at first you're like, that's weird. Like, you know, I guess because he knows it's like a one of a kind maybe. But anyway, he's freaking out. But then his whole demeanor changes. He's like, I'm going to murder that bitch. I'm going to kill her. Ah. And I don't know. It just becomes, you're like, all right, well, we're going to find out more about this tape and why he's so upset about it. Now, this is a short book. So this is all happening in like the first 20 pages. So already I'm like, anyway, the guy, I don't know his name, because I don't care to remember. But the guy calls his uncle and says, this bitch stole the videotape. I don't know how to get it back. I need your help. And the uncle's like, you're a worthless piece of shit. Like, you can tell that the uncle has been emotionally and verbally and physically abusing this person since he was little, right? But we're offered some insight into where the videotape came from. And from a person called the Visitor, which we can assume is like an extraterrestrial kind of thing, from another being from another dimension that gives them gifts. And this is one of the gifts he's given them, which is another point of contention I have for this book. An interdimensional being is giving you gifts like a sequel to Friday the 13th? It's like, that's the gifts? And like the other gifts seem very much like on brand with that. They're like very innocuous things. I mean, they weren't exciting to me. I was like, this is so fucking weird. I'm not giving you, you know, the knowledge of time travel or the knowledge of why we're here. But here's a sequel to Friday the 13th. As if an interdimensional being gave a shit. I don't know. So I was like, what? And the uncle's like, well, we got to get it fucking back, you piece of shit. Get it back or he's going to kill you. Like, I guess the Visitor was following him around and like said that they're not allowed to give these gifts away. It's only for them kind of thing. So they need to get it back before he finds out it's missing or they could both die. While that's going on with the uncle, Allison, the main character, has found her best friend, told her the situation, showed her the tape, and they've like concocted a plan for Allison to like get out of there and go back home. They live in another state, so she's going to try and escape the horror convention without this guy finding her. And they rent her a car and she leaves, okay? While she's like running away, the guy is like coming downstairs and he's searching for her, right? He's looking everywhere. He goes up to the hotel, like the desk clerk, and says, have you seen this woman? Describes her and says, if you see her, let her know I'm looking for her, like being very nonchalant. But you can tell that the desk clerk is like infatuated with this guy and like trying to flirt with him. So he can tell and he's flirting back with her, which will come into play in a minute. But she's like, no, I haven't seen her, but I'll let you know, blah, blah, blah. He's searching the convention for her, looking everywhere. He spends all day looking for her, doesn't find her, obviously, because she's gone. So he goes back to the desk clerk and he says, hey, this is her room number. Could you just give me her name? She kind of left without giving me her name, and I really wanted to get in touch with her, and I can't find her. And the desk clerk's like, no, obviously I can't give you other guests' information. He's like, oh, come on, it's not that big a deal. Like, trying to flirt with her. And she's like, no, I wish I could, but I can't. You know, whatever. And he's like, oh, okay. So the uncle calls him later after doing some digging. He finds out what her name is. And he says, you need to get her address and get the fuck over there and find her. So this fucking moron, and this is where I really start to fucking lose my shit with this book. This fucking moron decides, okay, I'm going to scare the front desk clerk into giving me her information, because if this is her name, she should have left her name and had a credit card on file, blah, blah, blah. He decides to put on a Michael Myers mask and the Michael Myers jumpsuit, right? And they're at a horror convention, so I get that. He blends in. He goes and hides behind a tree by the clerk's car. Now, how he knows what her car looks like, I don't know. He hides behind a tree that's by the clerk's car. When the desk clerk gets off, she's walking to her car, and he jumps out from behind her. He puts a knife to her throat and tells her, puts his hand around her mouth and tells her, if you scream, I'll fucking kill you. Do as I say and you won't fucking die. And she's like screaming, she's like crying, and he's like, shut the fuck up, I'll kill you. And she's like, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me. He takes the hand off of her mouth, spins her around, takes his mask off, and goes, it's me, I'm just kidding. Hilarious. He's like, it's me, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to find a way to talk to you outside of work. Okay? Don't worry, it gets worse. She goes, why did you scare me like that? You didn't have to scare me to talk to me. You could have just said hello. I'm going to insert some footage from the night I vlogged this and read it right here. She's like, well, I know a spot we can go. And she drives off with this man who just threatened to slit her throat as he puts a butcher knife in her side, like the side of the car door. And they drive off to a lover's lane type area, and she starts to give this man head. On what planet would any woman where you just threatened to slit her throat take you somewhere to suck your dick? Hello? What? Again, I ask you, in what fucking universe would a woman that you just threatened with a butcher knife laugh it off and then allow you into her car? I don't know. Then she sucks his dick feverishly like she's never done before. The descriptions of how she was, never mind. It was just so fucking absurd. It was so absurd. Oh, she made him come in under a minute and she's the most amazing head he ever had and blah, 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 blah. Like I said, they go to this lover's lane type place to like make out. She thinks they're gonna fuck or whatever. And he's asking her for Allison's information. And she's like, that's the only reason you fucking wanted me out here? Like, you know I can't do that. Fuck you. Take me back. Blah, blah, blah. Stabs her and kills her. Ugh, y'all. I was like, what is happening here? Hello? What? I was like, I know a man wrote this. This is a man's work. I should have DNF'd it right there. Because I was like, I hate this. I fucking hate this book so much. But I was like, no. Because I was like, maybe there's more to like this videotape, right? I don't know what I was thinking, y'all. But I was like, I already hate this, but I'm going to finish it because it was very short. I was like, let's just see what happens. No sooner do I say that than I turn the page and we get a really fun monologue from the uncle about killing whores. Talking about how he's murdered sex workers. He calls them lot lizards, sluts, how he's murdered them and buried them and they're worthless pieces of shit. So there's a whole long tirade from a piece of shit serial killer who has murdered multiple sex workers. Which, if your book does that, I automatically hate your book. There are a lot of real life cases where sex workers have been murdered and no one fought for them, no one cared for them, they treated them like trash, and these murderers and serial killers and rapists got away with it because these women were sex workers. So I don't want any part of that in anybody's fucking book, okay? Again, should have DNF'd it because this tirade that this man goes on is... Anyway, after that, the guy finds out where Allison lives and he's headed over there. He's going to fucking kill her, right? In between this time, the best friend that watched the tape has now had the same feeling come over her that came over Allison, where she wants to take it, right? So She and Allison get drunk. When Allison falls asleep, she takes the tape and goes home. Steals the tape from her. Allison wakes up the next day and is like, oh my God, the fucking tape is gone. And tries to call her best friend. Her best friend's not answering. So she goes over to the house and she's like, hey, what happened? Like, did you leave? Do you know where my tape went? And her best friend is like, fuck you, get the fuck away from me. If you don't leave my house, I'm calling the police. So she's like, whoa, what the fuck? So obviously the videotape is having this effect on her. Again, weird. I don't understand why this sequel of Friday the 13th that never existed is turning people into insane people. I don't understand. And it's not explained. Don't worry, it never gets explained. So Allison's pissed and she's like, fuck you, I'm gonna get this tape back. So she goes home and she's crying and she's upset because she's lost her best friend and her best friend hates her and now the best friend has the video. So she's dealing with all this. While she's dealing with that, guess who comes barging through her door to murder her? The fucking guy, I don't know his name, to murder her. And they fight. They struggle. He's beats her up and has her pinned against the wall. And he's like, where's the fucking videotape, bitch? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I don't fucking have it. Fuck you. And he's like, I'm gonna find it. And like pushes her down and is like searching. And she's like, I don't have it. My friend Cassie stole it from me, you piece of shit. And he's like pissed off. Then what happens? Can you guess? They have sex. She decides this is the perfect time for coitus. Right after he tried to stab you and he beat the shit out of you. But let's lead him to the bedroom to have sex. And they do. They do. And then afterwards she's like, I know where the videotape is. We can go get it together. Let's go get it together. Ooh. They go to Cassie's house to get it. A fight ensues and Cassie's dead. I don't remember. I'm sorry, y'all. I forgot the ending. That's how much I hated this book. But somehow Cassie dies. She gets shot. And Allison steals the videotape back and hides it in her car, right? And then she leaves the dude behind to get caught by the police. I think. I'm so sorry. I don't remember the ending and I'm not going to get up to go look at it. Either way, Allison ends up alone in the car with the videotape and she's driving away. And the visitor, the interdimensional being shows up in her back seat, right? And basically it leads up to a sequel. I can't remember the string of events from the time they go to Cassie's house to the ending. But basically the visitor shows up in Allison's car and then there's a sequel. There is a sequel. It's called The Unseen 2, which I'm not going to read. But that's it. I hated this book. I'm giving it 2 stars. I'm giving it 1.5 stars. The only reason I'm giving it that is because I don't hate it as much as I hated Dead Inside, but it's a close second. It was just such a weird, gross, I hated it. I hated it. This is, hello, this is editing, Kaylee. I wanted to throw in this part where I forgot to tell you guys that Allison and this guy decide to go and kill the uncle. So that Allison is like thinking self-preservation, you know? So she's like, if we go kill him, then neither one of us have to worry about him. So they end up like killing the uncle. Not that it matters. Great. He deserved to die. But I just forgot to throw that part in here. That they do go and kill him before they go to Cassie's house to get the tape back. So yeah, maybe the sequel will answer a lot of the questions about the visitor that I had, which honestly is the most interesting part of this book. But then again, it's not, because like I said, the gifts he's giving them is sequels to Friday the 13th. It was a very, very strange reading experience that I did not fucking enjoy, not for a single second. So if that sounds like something you want to read, it is on Kindle Unlimited right now. But other than that, that was my reading month for November. It was not great. But I am in a much better mood. I've already gone through 3 books in the last 2 days. on Kindle Unlimited. So I've been vlogging those, and I think my next video is gonna be like Kindle Unlimited horror that I've been enjoying. And I still have to do my Almost There vlog where I read Almost There and go around the city. It's just been cold, much colder than normal for New Orleans. Then we had a big event during the holiday season, plus the holidays. There's just been a lot going on, but I do plan to make time for that vlog this month, fingers crossed. And I will put the other books for my November reading plans into this month's TBR, and we'll see how it goes. But thank you guys so much for being patient while I got this video out. I'm sorry it took so long to get from one video to this one. I really appreciate you being patient with my fucking stupid brain. And my next vlog hopefully will be out Monday or Tuesday. So I hope you'll have a wonderful day. Please leave a like and subscribe if you like this kind of content and you enjoyed this video. And I will see you guys next time.